How's it going, all you most amazing people? I'm Landon Dallasing, and welcome back to a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys aren't already subscribed here, hit the subscribe button because we are on the road to 4 mil. The question is, can we do it? Okay, so a clinical or drug trial is used to explore whether or not a treatment or device is safe and effective for humans. For people who are strapped for cash, this might seem like an attractive option to earn quick money. However, there are a lot of negative side effects and complications with clinical trials, so you know what, let's take a look at the top 10 drug trials that went horribly wrong. So starting us off with number 10 with the Macular Degenerational Clinic trial. This one is actually pretty recent, so in January of 2017, 3 women were suffering from an eye disease known as macular degeneration decided to participate in a stem cell clinical trial. So they were each paid $5,000 to have both of their eyes treated, so they entered the study with their vision and they left blind. This was a very unsafe and illegitimate clinical trial, and now these poor 3 women are left without their eyesight and they will never recover from this. Gene therapy drug trial slipped into number 9. Jesse Gelsinger was 18 years old at the time he participated in a drug trial that ended his life. He was injected with a drug that was developed as a treatment for infants who were born with a severe form of liver disease. They wanted to test safety of the procedure, but sadly 4 days later, he had multiple organ failure and his brain also failed. The university was sued for a wrongful death, and they settled with the family for an undisclosed amount of money. Number 8 takes us over to an Elephant Man drug trial. 8 healthy young men signed up to participate in a routine drug trial at London Hospital in exchange for £2,000. They thought it was an easy way to earn money, and they were told that the most common and worst side effect that they would experience are migraines and nausea that would pass within a couple of hours after taking the drug. Well, they were sadly mistaken because 6 of them were left screaming in agony, fighting for their lives as their organs began to fail. Some of them had to have their limbs amputated, and one of them spent 4 months in the hospital after suffering from heart, liver, and kidney failure. I mean, is this real life right now? What the heck? The Johns Hopkins asthma trial comes into number 7. One healthy volunteer died after she inhaled a drug in a federal financed asthma drug trial. When she first inhaled the medicine, she only had a slight cough, but then as time went on, she was put onto a ventilator because her lung tissue was breaking down and her kidneys were starting to fail. She died 1 month later, and it was found out that the drug used in the trial was not FDA approved, and this information wasn't included in the consent form, so Johns Hopkins had to take full responsibility for the tragic death. Number 6 brings us to the anti-anxiety drug trial. In January of 2016, a pharmaceutical company recruited 128 healthy volunteers to participate in a clinical trial for a new drug that was developed to combat reduced anxiety that was related to cancer and Parkinson's disease. When the dosage of this drug was increased, 6 of the participants became ill and they were rushed to the emergency room. One of the participants was a young man who was pronounced brain dead. After just 2 weeks, he started the clinical trial. The other 5 people were in a stable state, but doctors predicted that they have suffered from irreversible brain damage that will cause some mental impairment. Leukemia drug trial takes number 5. In July of 2016, 3 adult leukemia patients tragically died after they participated in a clinical trial where they were given an experimental drug called CART. The 3 patients died from cerebral edema, which is the swelling in the brain, and now this pharmaceutical company is being reviewed by the FDA, and it's not clear whether or not they will be able to carry on with future clinical trials. Moving on to number 4 with an antipsychotic drug trial. A 26-year-old man who was mentally ill participated in a clinical trial for an antipsychotic drug called Seroquel. But just 6 months after he started the trial, he stabbed himself to death and left a suicide note behind. The university was cleared of any wrongdoing and malpractice claims, but a lot of people still believe that the university ignored the signs that he was suicidal, and the patient was not content to consent to participating to the study. The clinical trial that drastically affected pregnant women comes into number 3. A drug called Thalidomide was manufactured in Germany for the purpose of treating respiratory infections. However, this drug is infamously known around the world because because of its horrible effects on pregnancy. There are over 10,000 children being born during the 60s that suffered from serious birth defects such as missing limbs and cleft palates because of the drug. Number 2 takes us to Pfizer clinical trial. Children in Nigeria were given a drug called Trovin during the 1990s meningitis outbreak. However, 11 children were killed by this drug, and it was later revealed that Pfizer did not disclose to the parents that the drug was experimental, and they were even assured that it was tried and tested on humans before, but it wasn't. A tragic experiment makes its way into number 1 spot. Back in 1996, a young college student agreed to participate in a clinical trial because she needed extra spending money. The researchers inserted a tube down her throat into her lungs in order to see how pollution has affected her respiratory system. But these researchers took more cell samples than they were supposed to, and they increased her dosage of anesthetic to a dangerous level, so 2 days later she was found dead because the anesthetic caused her heart to stop beating and the rest of her body began to fail as well. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching our videos. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.